came in and everybody stopped talking. They must
I
have
know.
been
I know, we were
through.
talking about him.
I was following this guy. I think that's why he stopped talking.
That's Robbie talk.
Time to start the meeting.
Excuse me, just a sec. Hello. Good morning.
This is Liz
Okay.
Cole. The sound is sort of muddy, but I heard somebody say good morning and thank you for opening it up. So,
She's not officially open yet, she was, good morning, somebody else.
got it.
Okay. We'll.
A lot of
we'll
meetings
touch
this
base
week.
Later.
A lot of meetings this week.
Okay. thank
Planning
you
board
for letting-
tonight,
Yeah,
Budget committee last night.
yeah.
You took down our phone numbers.
I did not do
Okay.
anything, I didn't touch that board,
we'll wing it.
I don't know who did.
Hey, thank you, Michael. Good luck to you. Okay,
Somebody
bye-bye.
wanted it clean, I guess.
Thank you. Okay, it is 9:06. I apologize for the late hour. Well, it's not really late, especially since most of us were here last night. And we will open the regular select board meeting, and we begin with public comments. And we have a full house this morning, so I'm guessing we have a lot of people with public comments, or just listening. Jan?
You always pick me first.
Well, you have this friendly face.
I do?
guess I should say Ms.
Oh.
Williams.
You don't have to
It's
say
just the
Ms.
same for everybody, is all that matters.
But it depends on if I know their first or last name.
Okay, right. I just wanted to ask about, I was looking at the Vision software, the Vision system the other day, and it didn't seem to be up to date, at least the one that I could access. So the last new home sale that I saw, and it was in September of 2021.
Okay,
So I'm curious about that, and, what's the story, and who updates it, and how does it get updated?
okay, I think you probably heard from Dina about who updates.
She didn't really answer my question.
Aha, well, the administrative staff. Dina does some, Jordan does some, our assessor does some.
So it's a mixed bag.
Well, it's,
Yeah,
David does some, so it depends
it's
on,
the selectman's office.
right,
Okay,
and,
everybody does it.
well, not everybody. I don't go in and sit down.
No, I'm
and do-
saying everybody in their
attempt
office
it,
does
But
it.
that office, the administrative office,
Thank you for the
is in
answer.
charge of it.
And can I just add one thing?
Sure.
The Vision page that we have, the Vision web page, not ours, but Vision's. Now that we have a new upgraded program, they will be going in and automatically updating it
It doesn't get, I
at
see.
least quarterly, if not monthly. It depends on what we can get in our software package. That doesn't cost additional funds.
So, in order for the web link to be updated, you have to do that manually, it doesn't happen automatically.
Well, it will be,
It will be, but
but
it
now it has not
right.
in the past,
Good to
no,
know.
because of the program we had.
I didn't see how you could be operating on, when you're out of date.
Well, see, we don't, no.
Okay.
Our Vision program in-house that tracks properties
Mhm.
is up to date.
Right, that's,
You're right, they come in and take the data and put it on their
Right.
website.
okay,
Huh.
super, thank you very much.
Yep.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. Ms. Quinton?
I just had a question. I was, interested in the values in town because that's gonna set the tax rate going forward. And there was an RSA, I wondered if you guys knew who was updating this data. It's RSA 79A:5, assessment of open space land. But it's supposed to be by July 1st of each year. Assessing officials shall determine if previously classified lands have been reapplied or undergone a change in use, so that the land use change tax may be levied against the lands changed in use. And then there's a affiliated RSA 79A:7 that defines some of the terms of which kinds of lands the land use change tax should be applied to, because it's supposed to be Such list shall be part of the invoice and subject to inspection. So I just wondered if that data was out there, because I think there's been a lot of, the Conservation Commission and various folks are interested in what our open land and current use land is like in town.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I think you're here for bids. Do you have,
I'm just here
can
to,
you tell me who you are?
I'm Richard Mengy.
Mr. Mengy, thank you.
And I'm just here to support the select board. I think you might be talking about a letter to the state DOT on the bridge. And listening to, I think your September 29th or something meeting recording, it sounds like the gist of it was more angled towards a temporary bridge, and I'd certainly encourage the select board to also include provisions for a bike and pedestrian access over the new bridge, because I think a lot of things have changed in the last 7 years since they had a last public hearing, and sustainability is certainly on the top of everybody's minds, but doesn't appear to be accounted for in the project that's being bid.
Okay, thank you.
Want me to respond to that? or-
Can we respond later? Let's
Yeah.
go
We're
through the
gonna
public.
address that later.
Right, it's coming up. Lenore, Ms. Bolton?
No, I'm the same, I'm Lenore Bolton, the same questions about the bridge and the uses and everything. so.
Okay, thank you. Karen, Ms. Keen? Sue?
The only thing I can add to it would be that we need a brand new bridge, not try to jury rig an old decrepit monster.
Okay, thank you. Rich? Mr. Brown?
Yes, thank you. I asked last time about the RFP for the assessor,
Mhm.
and I don't know if that's been put out, but do you plan to include a date for having the information delivered in that RFP? I mean, I would counsel maybe the 1st of August if you have to sign it by the 1st of September. And then the second request I made was that you specify who actually will do the updating of the database.
Okay, so when you spoke last time and I took minutes about what you had asked and I
Mhm.
was letting Dina know what I had heard,
Mm-hmm.
Dina heard something different.
Really?
So
Okay,
I got confused,
Okay.
I think. But I'm gonna let Dina respond to that.
Okay.
If there are no other public comments, and then we're gonna move into opening the bids, so.
Liz Ryan Cole is on here, just so you know. I don't know if she has a public comment
Do you have a
or not.
public comment, or are you gonna be part of the bridge discussion, Ms. Cole?
I'll be part of the bridge discussion.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Dina, quick response.
And a quick response as in, yes, the RFP includes a date,
mm-hmm.
and, okay, my brain is mush. What was the second part again?
Well, the RFP to specify who enters the data.
No.
Okay,
It will specify that there will be times when the assessor
mm-hmm,
has to enter it in.
yep,
But our office staff does some of that,
yep,
so
okay.
we can't just have
I
it
mean,
be.
that was part of the discussion earlier this
Right.
morning. May I ask what date was specified in the RFP?
I'd have to look. I
Okay.
haven't really confirmed a date yet.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, guys. And we will circle back onto the bridge discussion, which seems to have been most of the comments. And at some future point, we will get to the values in town for open space. Opening of the bids, it's exactly 9:15. Well, that clock's 9:15, this one is 9:15 now. And I think we have several different bids. Are we gonna start with sand and gravel?
Yeah,
Okay,
please.
and we have another person, may I have your name, please?
Jeff Tworog from R&D Paving.
Thank you.
Okay, first is Twin State. Okay, 3,000 cubic yards of crushed gravel. Well, they have two different prices in here. $12.30 a ton and $21.05 delivered. And then hard pack is on here, but I'm not sure that was.
1,000 yards.
Okay, it was. Okay, so again, $9.50. And then delivered $18.25. And then 4,000 yards of winter sand, $15.54. And $26.91 delivered. Chief crushing and excavation. Winter sand picked up $8.75. Winter sand delivered to the town garage, $14.15. There's two different types of winter sands, but they're delivered the same price, so. Crushed gravel, $13.60, picked up. $20.49 delivered to the town garage. And then there's a stay pack price from two different places. One is $21.25 and the other one is $22.25. Is stay pack hard pack?
21.25, and
22.25.
both of those then would be
Delivered?
delivered?
Yes, it's Chiefs picking it up at two different
Okay,
quarries,
okay.
and then Pike. Crushed stone. It says winter sand on the top of it, but crushed stone is $22.75. And delivered to the town, it's $35.30. Hard pack, it's $14.90, and delivered $28.60. And
Gravel,
that's all they have.
just those two?
That's per ton, right? They didn't break it down into yards.
Yes, they did, that was
They did.
yards,
That was yards.
yeah.
Okay,
That's it. For sand and gravel.
okay.
Go ahead and have a seat.
And then Goose Pond Road, there's 3 different jobs for each one. So this may get confusing and we may not.
This is my video camera, you might not want to sit in front.
Gotcha. How they've done
Hey, I
this.
don't bite.
I kinda like him over there.
All right, Blacktop, job 1. Estimated total cost of the job is $65,191.
Okay,
Job 2 is $151,609. And job 3 is $255,166.
Could you explain what those jobs are? 1, 2, and 3?
Excuse me?
What are the jobs, 1, 2, and 3?
Scott?
One is grinding, and then laying, and then repaving it,
The hill.
the hill. That's job 1. 2 is from to the 4 corners, the part that hasn't been paved. and 3 is from the four corners to the town line. A shim and an overlay.
Okay, R&D,
Hold on,
oh,
please.
sorry,
No, that's okay. Okay,
I'll make sure.
I'm caught up.
Yeah, oh, good. Job 1, 68,451.55. Job 2, 166,626.65. And job 3 is 283,432.45. And then they say see attached, they have all kinds of printouts of individual, each job.
Okay,
Pike. Job 1 is 63,236.10. Job 2 is $164,753.10. Job 3 is $205,506.30. And one more. GMI Asphalt. Sorry. Job 1. $80,664. Job 2, $183,371. And job 3, $371,318. And that's it.
okay.
So those will have to be, I'll do a chart like I did last time and send it out to
The three of us
the
and to
3
Scott.
of you and Scott, yep. And then, you can go from there.
Okay. Thank
You
you.
have a question?
Yes, sir.
Is the chart with the breakdown, like with the per ton prices and things like that, is that gonna be available to the vendors as well, or?
Absolutely.
Okay, great,
Yep.
appreciate that.
And could you tell us who you are?
Jeff from R&D paving.
Thank you, Jeff. Wait,
The other guy was from Pike.
you already told me that. Where are you?
I'm Tom with Blacktop.
Sorry to ask you, Jeff, a second time.
That's okay.
Thank you, just trying to keep ahead of the curve here. So Dina will chart, it will come to us, to Scott, and to the vendors.
Excellent, thank you.
Excellent,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
All seven there,
Yes, sir.
okay,
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks for
Thanks, Scott.
coming in.
thank you,
Good job last night,
thanks.
budget committee.
Oh.
It's always a fun time. Okay, moving on to 9:29 public session minutes and 9:29 non-public session minutes.
I'll move on.
Both sets?
I'll second. Those are subject, you guys saw the changes that I had to work out with them.
Yes. Yep. So, excellent. Any further changes to those or comments on them? Okay, all those in favor say aye,
David, I.
and Judy, aye. Both sets are approved. So how we do this, just in case anyone is curious, Jordan and Dina draft out and review the minutes. They send them out to us individually. We look at them, we make our individual changes, we send them back to Dina. Dina incorporates them, resends the draft out, we look at it, and then we vote on it today, so there's no chit chat. And sometimes we get them very late at night.
He's ignoring
He is ignoring me. I'm trying to be clever here.
me. Just being funny, David.
Yeah, I sent them out early yesterday.
You did, I was shocked.
Okay, milfoil. We had a request for reimbursement on the 29th. And I believe you have probably heard, but Dina did reach out to the folks, and volunteers cannot be reimbursed with any of the state or grant monies, as we know. And I believe we did make the suggestion that we try and have some money put in to the budget for next year, so we can grab it to help with expenses like air for the tanks and so on. And at the end of the meeting, just to recap, I believe Ben made a motion, David seconded it, that we do whatever we can at the end of this year. There are some extra town funds to help recoup some of those costs. And if I'm not correct, Dina is checking to see if it's legal to do that.
Okay.
So,
Just to update you, the Conservation Commission has agreed to support the milfoil efforts. So the volunteers will be reimbursed going forward
okay. If it's legal
I don't
to
know.
do,
Yeah,
from the
I know.
Conservation Commission has decided and voted on
right,
supporting.
got it.
We have to find out if it
Yeah.
is legal, I don't
We
know.
will find out if we're
Yeah.
violating any unknown laws to do that, but basically, we are all in support.
Right, thank you.
And thank you.
Well, can I just clarify, the reason why it needs to be checked is, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the Conservation Commission is still a town fund. So they would need to follow what all the other town expenditure stuff does, so, those same rules.
Okay. And we have an update on the BTLA appeal. We don't have a final decision. The update is simply we have received notice that BTLA would like the town and the folks appealing to get together and see if anything can be worked out before there is.
Is that a
Further
request for
action.
mediation? Is that what they've asked for, or?
It's not really mediation, they would like us to sit down again,
Face-to-face rather than
yeah.
immediate.
They
Um,
want you to attempt to settle the matter before the hearing is scheduled in order to,
It's in an effort to manage its docket more effectively and expeditiously and to encourage informal disposition of the appeal. The parties are ordered to meet and attempt to settle the matter.
In other words, they have a lot of people on their docket, and this is what they send to everybody.
right, and we have to have it done by February.
So how do we do that? Do we bring,
I think we reach out to them, ask them to come in, we could probably meet
is
in
that in,
non-public
is that,
session.
it would be a non-public session and we just,
Are you're gonna say no?
Well, I'm saying that it involves more than just the board and the people, because they have
Oh, they have an
a
attorney
tax
now.
attorney service. And you know, Todd would need to be here, and they would need to be there, and you would need to be here. and
Yeah,
do
but
we need
so it would be
a
like-
council present? If they're represented by council, do we
We
need an
You'd
attorney
have to see,
other than
we'll
me?
have to talk about what your strategy is
I
gonna be,
think
yes.
this is new to me, I've not experienced this before, but I do know that the courts are backed up broadly, and a lot of stuff is being referred back to people to try and settle before decisions are made by the court, so.
Well, if it goes to the BTLA, just so you know, generally, at the BTL level, Todd goes and represents us,
Yeah.
because he's the one that has done all the work, and has all the facts and all that stuff. So, but
But it hasn't even gotten there yet.
it hasn't even gotten there yet, that's
So-
right.
How is he compensated for that? Does he bill us on an hourly
Yeah.
basis?
Yeah, it's part of his contract, and he as a a fee.
Okay. Moving right along, the hot topic of the day is the bridge. And we did receive a draft from David. We also received a suggestion from Ms. Liz Ryan Cole. And I'll just lead off by saying I've read both. I particularly like the draft that David did because it really reflects this, I believe, this board's beliefs and stance, and also reflects Lyme in particular in the interests of Lyme. And I'd also like to say, I believe this board has at least had several or more discussions with folks from DOT, with concerns for all the issues that have been raised lately. So it wasn't exactly, it's not as if there were never public discussions, but there certainly weren't, it wasn't like town meeting where, you know, 2/3 of the town appeared and everybody was able to discuss the issue. So, I don't know if I don't know where we wanna go from there. David, do you wanna take the lead?
I would respond to a couple of
Okay.
the comments we got in public comment. One on the question of adding pedestrian access. That was something I've spoken to Jennifer Rezek about. She's the person in charge of the bridge rehabilitation on the DOT staff. And I agree with you. I think it would be great to have some sort of way for pedestrians and bicyclists to get across the bridge safely, and that's probably gonna be more important as time goes on rather than less. Unfortunately, what she has explained to us on several occasions is as follows. That bridge is eligible to be included as a historic bridge. I think it actually is designated as a historic bridge, but its designation isn't the key point. The key point is its eligibility to be so designated. So even if it weren't designated, if it's eligible, the DOT has a statutory mandate to preserve the bridge if it possibly can. So, and that kind of goes to Sue's point too about, you know, get rid of the old bridge and put in a new one. They can't do that. They, according to them, according to Jennifer, what they've told us repeatedly is if it's eligible to be designated as historic, then they have a statutory obligation to do everything they can within reason to preserve the bridge and in its current form. And what they've told us is that the bridge's current form doesn't, structurally, from an engineering perspective, can't support an additional, because I asked her, could we do an outrigger, you know, extend the beams and put a footpath like the one on that beautiful bridge in Fairleigh. And what she said is they did an engineering study on that and have concluded that the bridge isn't strong enough to support the additional weight. I was a little skeptical of that, so I pushed on it a little bit, and I said, what do you mean it's just a couple bicyclists, you know, how heavy could that be? And her response was, well, that's what everybody thinks, but that's not how the engineering calculations work. If you add an additional lane, it has to be engineered so that if it was completely full to the maximum amount of
People.
Cyclists.
Pedestrians, whatever,
Plus the weight of
the weight of the cars, it has to be strong enough, and they've concluded that they can do that. So, they don't believe that they can, I guess to put it in a single sentence is, they don't believe that preservation of the existing historical bridge is possible, that it's possible to expand the bridge to allow for a dedicated pedestrian bicycle access while preserving the historic bridge. Now, I'm not an engineer, and I haven't reviewed we haven't reviewed their engineering studies, so I don't know, but I don't have any reason to think that they'd be being deliberately dishonest with us. I think that's what they've told us.
I asked the question, Lancaster had a bridge similar to ours, but not exactly the same, and they wiped it out and put in a new bridge. Well, it turns out if ours were in a little bit worse condition, which delay, it's been a lot of delay, might happen, they would replace it. But right now, it's in good enough condition that they can repair it and restore it.
Yeah, that's right, that's the within reason part. If the
Yes.
bridge is in bad enough condition that it can't be preserved for a reasonable amount of money, then they get out of that trap and they can just put in a new bridge, but we're not there yet, according to their engineers.
Yeah, so if you know someone who has a really big truck.
And some
who
scuba
doesn't-
gear.
And doesn't mind swimming in cold water, if you could make a kind of over through the edge and down, it's, we really pressed them on that point, because we really felt it could either be replaced new or made slightly differently while still,
But I guess the I-beams are in decent shape on the bridge, even though an awful lot of the bridge looks awful, especially if you paddle underneath it and look up, it's pretty scary. But again, without a catastrophic failure of a grossly overloaded truck going across it.
Well, there is a lot of truck traffic going across it.
there's a lot of
But,
just plain
but
traffic.
not way over the way.
Well, some of it's pretty close.
Well, maybe if everyone delays it long enough,
Yeah.
another
It'll
couple of
be in
years.
that position.
But don't forget the issue then of how long it's closed is probably gonna be even longer than what's predicted, because the old structure has to go away, the new structure gets done. I mean, it
Yeah, replacing it might,
might take longer.
I haven't asked Jennifer Rezick that question, but I share your concern that replacing that old bridge with a new bridge might,
Really be a long time.
might take longer than rehabilitating the old bridge. And I also, I don't have any basis for this, but I worry a little bit is, you know, are they, I'm not sure they're obligated to replace the bridge. You know, could they just say, yeah,
I think, well, I don't know.
What do you mean, David?
well, what if they, what if
What if
they,
they
what if
say
it got
no?
too expensive and they said, we're just gonna let that, we're just gonna close the bridge?
Not have a
I
crossing.
don't have any basis for
No,
that.
it's
Well,
extreme.
one of the things that came up was the traffic count over the bridge isn't as high as, let's say, the Ledyard Bridge in Hanover, or even
Obviously.
the bridge in Fairleigh. And so,
It's not as high as the Fairleigh Bridge.
I
Well,
doubt it.
There are people who are afraid to come across the bridge, that's why.
I hold my breath when I drive in the water.
Well, it's certainly, there have been other bridges through
And certainly down
whatever
in
fault.
Lebanon, they put in a temporary bridge,
Yes,
and
they
the
did.
traffic was extremely high.
Right.
So it
Yeah.
was, I listened there, that was.
Mhm.
I think the length of the span is also probably a contributing factor in this. I mean, the distance between here and East Thetford is longer than the Ledyard Bridge. And look how long it took them to completely redo Ledyard Bridge. I mean, yes, they were able to do one lane at a time, but it is a smaller span, whereas here, and they had real estate on both sides to do it. Whereas here, I mean, there's property owners and homes right on all four corners. So for them to even consider to put in a temporary span seems as though someone is gonna have to offer up their land, and
Yeah, that
it
would
would
be,
seem a little,
take a little while in itself.
you know, or if not, and I mean, certainly, it's not in such an emergent case that the state, in my mind, that the state of New Hampshire will seek the eminent domain to
I
take,
mean, how
take,
long
take
that
property,
takes.
we know how long that takes, exactly.
Eminent domain can be stuck in litigation for years.
Well, yes, it was.
And you would have two states negotiating. Before I take anything from the public here, Ms. Cole, did you want to comment? Because we cut you off before.
Oh, that's okay, thank you. I guess I would make 3 points right now. One was sort of alluded to, a replacement rather than the restoration would allow a temporary bridge to exist at the same time, as was done in Orford. The second point is that the traffic count that the Department of Transportation put out, 1,900, is low. That traffic count was done by the Regional Planning Authority, and they have told us, and will tell anyone who asks, that it was done in COVID, calculated down for COVID, but that the actual figures are much closer to what the figures were for the Orford Bridge. And that the hearings make it clear that no one inquired into real estate availability. Certainly Cedar Circle, which owns real estate right there, is very interested in not losing all that business that comes from Lyme. And so those are 3 points I would make just right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. David, did you want to comment on any of that or not? You said, okay. Mr. Brown.
I was going to ask you to invite Ms. Cole to speak because I know she had some points.
Okay, very good.
It's sounding to me like one solution is gonna be legislative, that we might need to get something passed in the New Hampshire legislature to address the concerns here about, and to take it up higher than above what the New Hampshire DOT engineering, that they're constrained by laws that we might have to change or get a special targeted piece of legislation to address that.
Do you have some verbiage of what you're thinking about?
No, because I only started to realize that today. But it doesn't seem that that would be an impossible thing to
Well,
do.
you have to have some idea of what would be necessary to change before you.
Oh, exactly, but I'm just saying it might be a fertile avenue to explore.
We can
What would
certainly
it take?
copy our representatives.
Because there has been discussion with representatives, governmental representatives on both sides of the river about what would it take to do the things that we wanna do, and maybe, I mean, I can't imagine the people on the seacoast are gonna give a flip if we have a little targeted piece of legislation to fix our bridge.
Okay, thank you. Lenore?
2 things. One, have they totally eliminated the idea about a full-size lane and a partial pedestrian lane, so you don't have any outriggers, but it's, and with lights, and just replacing the bridge somehow?
I believe it probably under their statute, which is what they keep stating, is that they have to keep it the way it is.
Yeah, it has to be.
That's not what Jennifer told me when I talked to her
okay.
about this question. What she said is, if you really wanted dedicated pedestrian and bike access, one thing you could do would be to add stoplights and make the bridge one way at a time, so that some space is dedicated to people who are crossing on foot or bike. She said if that was something that people wanted to do, that they'd have to do a study. There's concerns about that because depending on the amount of traffic, apparently if there's a light and it backs up and blocks off River Road, for example, on the New Hampshire side. When I spoke to Jennifer Resnick, she said that was a possibility and that they'd be willing to discuss it with us. I frankly didn't know how people in Lyme would react. I'm sure there are some people who would be in favor of that, but there's other people who probably, want to get to the freeway or want to get to the 91 and wouldn't be so excited about having to stop and wait for 3 or 4 minutes while traffic's going the other direction.
I would
Sean's shaking his head.
strongly be totally opposed to putting a stoplight in. Cars coming, traveling westbound on East Thetford Road, you come around that corner and, I mean, I've already had over my career about 9 cars hit that red house. That's without a stoplight.
I'm glad I didn't know that when my daughter was renting there.
And I think, the corner, the way it slopes the wrong way, we're just asking for lots of trouble there.
That's a bad corner, I agree.
Bad.
So, but the answer to your question is apparently that's a possibility, but I don't know if it's a good I don't know if it's something that people would actually want if you had a vote on it. Maybe not.
The second question I had, probably within the last 10 years or so, Woodstock had a bridge. They had a group from Maine come out, and Valley News reported it as like bridge in a pocket or something. I think they had the bridge down, changed in like a month, maybe
A bridge in a backpack.
in a backpack.
What'd you say, a bridge in a backpack?
Bridge in a backpack.
And I did find the company. I went to the Valley News, site, got the name, called them, told them about the situation. I said, if you need, please put in a bid if this seems right, and I don't know.
I think in their situation, it's probably the span.
Yeah,
We're talking,
yeah, they can,
you're talking 300 and something feet, that's a long ways.
well,
It's more than
They
300,
can do it 2 arches.
closer to 500.
Can I raise my hand? This is Liz. Those are called Bailey bridges, and Jim Maslin, who's our representative here, was an engineer, said New Hampshire, Vermont have them in stock. I am not an,
No, it's
it's
not a
not
Bailey.
a
It's not a
temporary,
Bailey
it's not a
bridge.
temporary, it's a full.
Okay, it's not a Bailey, okay. Yes, sir.
I did have another comment, and the state says they're statutorily constrained to preserve the bridge. Obviously, if it's in complete failure, that sounds like they could do it. Is there any daylight in asking them to push harder on the statutory constraints to say, it does not serve the needs of the town? What evidence would we need to gather to say whether it meets, that design meets the needs? So,
I think what they're gonna say is that design meets the needs of the state of New Hampshire.
Well, okay.
Their statutory requirements as their needs are much different than town and municipality needs in that
mhm.
situation. And that's only a suspected guess.
Yep.
But, they're gonna, like anything else that happens in this state when it comes to these things, they're gonna stick to their statutes. They're going to, they're not gonna spend money that they don't have to spend. They're not gonna go down avenues of, taking people's land. It's, I just don't see them doing that. And I think they've already got a contractor, so there's already a bid that's been accepted.
There's a lot of, I
Accepted
agree, there's
and
hurdles,
awarded.
yes.
So they're
Been
kind of-
awarded, so, if somebody were going to send our legislative people a letter, they might wanna do that,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
come spring, they're gonna close that bridge. And
So-
unless we have an act of the Congress, which is,
When we chatted with them, either the last time or the time before last, and we pushed again pretty hard about a redesign, I kind of recall that they said, well, again, we take you off the list, we redo this list like every 10 years, it's a 10-year plan, so you'd be 10 years or 12 years out, and is that something you want, because people have been complaining about the safety of the bridge. So I think there are a lot of differing, not options, but things driving where we are right now. And I'm not sure 12 years from now or 10 years from now, it could be that the bridge was in bad enough shape that the whole thing had to be replaced, but then you might be looking at 3 or 4 years, or, much longer than 18 months downtime, and I'm not sure that alternatives that we've looked at today would be very much different, but they might be. Nobody has a crystal ball.
it might, but, on the other hand, it could only take one tractor trailer truck
That's
loaded
true.
at 90,000 pounds sneaking across that bridge at night, and
Yep,
nobody's gonna know until the morning when
there's no
half the bridge
bridge
is
and
gone.
no truck, yeah.
Um,
I wonder if, Mr. Mengy, I think you have some expertise in these sorts of things. What are your thoughts?
Well, I agree with what David is saying. I did 2 bridges in White River with federal monies, and it's quite difficult to work outside of their program requirements. I guess The only question I have is, the thought is, you know, it doesn't appear that it's meeting the purpose or needs of the community. It is sad that, that it appears that the correspondence and communication by the state has been, quite limited. But, I worked extensively with, over in Vermont with the Two Rivers Regional Planning Commission, and you guys use the Upper Valley. And perhaps there's somebody on their staff that could help you out, but I tend to think that if they've gone to the extent of actually getting a bidder and signed a contractor, I'm not sure really there's much we can do.
You know, one thing I kinda wondered about, and I don't.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you. I don't have any precedent for this, but I just was kind of wondering about it. If the town were to raise a private fund to try to incentivize the contractor to finish more quickly, is that something that could be done? I mean, they have this existing contract. What if the town stepped in and said, we'll give you $25,000 for every month early you finish? First of all, I don't have any idea whether there's any appetite within the town to raise funds for something like that in the form of a GoFundMe or something like that, if people would contribute to something like that. Second of all, I don't know if that's legal or if the DOT would permit us to add an incentive to their existing contract. And third of all, I don't know how much of an incentive you'd need in order to actually get any change out of the contractor doing the work. But I just remember many years ago, there was a big earthquake in Los Angeles when I was living there, and it closed one of the big arterial freeways in the city. And the city of Los Angeles added a material economic incentive to the contractors to get the work done early because it was preventing people from getting to their jobs. And the result was kind of striking. The contractors got that job done in half the time that was originally estimated. I know the state of New Hampshire doesn't, from my perspective, I would have liked to see them add something like that to the contract from the get-go, but they're just trying to get the lowest price.
Oh,
Anyways,
but there's an RSA against it.
Probably.
Well, and if I recall also that when they went out to bid 2 years ago, maybe, or whenever it was, and they wanted it done in 2 different time spans.
Yeah, with
so
a
that they
shorter
would-
closure. They were gonna have 6-month closure and then another 3-month closure at a
Right,
later date.
and they didn't get any bids, which wasn't just because of that, but that was one of the contributing factors. The people who would have been bidding said, we're gonna close it, do it, open it.
We were having too much trouble finding staffing and we're not confident we can get it done in
The
those,
second phase.
Yeah.
those specific
Shorter
time.
spans.
Has
so-
anyone mentioned anything about how long this repair is gonna be good for?
That's what I-
At least a week.
Yeah, well, that's,
That's a great
we're
question.
repairing a deficient structure, and it's not gonna last as long as a new one would.
See, I know you feel that way and you feel like we should get rid of it and put a new bridge, but you have to recognize that that is not a unified town position. Because there are people who very passionately feel that that bridge has historic value and ought to be preserved, and so, it's hard to wade into that
You're gonna get
because I don't know.
25 years out of it,
Yeah.
and you're gonna be back where we were. Well, I won't be, but somebody.
We leave that for the future generations.
Another reason not to have lights is that you've got a railroad track there, and you'll have somebody parked on it when your train comes by.
That's true too.
Oh, yeah, on the,
Vermont side.
although the railroad tracks back a ways, yeah, that's right though,
I
I
actually
hadn't thought
have
about that.
sat when they
Well,
did the
traffic
paving.
volumes can change over years. They're the
Yeah.
one thing that will change.
That's a good point, Ben.
Mhm. But those, when they do have one-way traffic, in the past, the traffic does back up. It backs up all the way to Route 5 and it backs up around the corner on the Lyme side. So, and we did talk about floating about a bike pedestrian path on the North Thetford Road where the old bridge was, or even a temporary bridge for people to go there, but that seemed to not go anywhere, and that's probably as much or more expensive than the repair, because it would be all new foundations.
I think that would be great if they put in just a pedestrian and bike bridge there at,
It'd be beautiful.
at North Thetford. And maybe if you're just building a bridge for bikes and pedestrians, it can be a lighter
Maybe-
structure
maybe
and so
that's a
not
good
as expensive, I
Project
don't know, but.
to look at that as an alternative, not connected to this bridge. But,
There's a message on here from Liz Ryan Cole. Can David read his draft?
how do you feel about reading your draft, David?
Sure, yeah, I'm happy to read it. I didn't bring a copy, thanks.
Thanks for visiting.
From the town of Lyme and,
Thank you.
Ukulele class on Zoom.
from the select board, town of Lyme, addressed to Jennifer Rezek, who's the project manager, bridge consultant, design chief. I think Judy's idea of copying our state representative is a good one, although that's not currently incorporated. Ray, closure of Lyme East Thetford Bridge during bridge repair / rehabilitation, dear Ms. Rezek. The select board of the town of Lyme, which is defined as the select board, wishes to express its concern regarding the announced upcoming closure of the Lyme East Thetford Bridge, defined as the bridge. While the bridge is being repaired and rehabilitated. It is our understanding that NHDOT currently anticipates a closure of the bridge lasting up to 18 months while the necessary work is undertaken. C, rehab of Lyme East Thetford Bridge could keep span closed for 18 months. Justin Canfield, Valley News, September 26, 2022. Such a protracted closure of the bridge will, we fear, impose significant economic and other hardships on residents and businesses in the town of Lyme. Many Lyme residents, new paragraph, many Lyme residents regularly conduct business in Thetford and surrounding communities. Lyme residents buy fuel, eat at restaurants, obtain medical and pediatric and child care services, and use Vermont 113 to access the 91 highway. Likewise, many businesses and individuals in Lyme employ individuals who rely on the bridge to travel to their jobs. Schools and child care facilities on both sides of the bridge draw students and teachers and staff from across the Connecticut River. During the bridge's closure, the required detour, either through Hanover, Norwich, or Orford Fairleigh, will be long, time-consuming, and in many cases is likely to be impractical and/or cost prohibitive. The select board is therefore concerned that the lengthy closure of the bridge currently envisioned will disrupt many of the arrangements and relationships currently enjoyed by Lyme residents and businesses, resulting in very real economic losses and other difficulties. New paragraph. The select board recognizes the importance of the planned rehabilitation of the bridge and the complexity and multiple challenges associated with a project of this type. Nevertheless, the select board respectfully requests that the Department of Transportation explore means by which the hardships associated with the closure of the bridge during its rehabilitation can be avoided or reduced. As always, we would be happy to meet with you and/or members of your team to discuss steps that might be taken to mitigate the hardships to Lyme residents and businesses associated with the planned rehabilitation work. Thank you for your time and attention and for all of your work and efforts to get our bridge back into great condition. Sincerely, signature lines for the select board. And again, this is just a draft, so want us to discuss it today.
Yeah, and I would say, thank you for reading that, and if there are other folks who wish to see other language, you know, there's nothing prohibiting anybody from sending letters. The more the merrier. Ms. Cole could certainly forward her letter that she's sending in the Vermont side to the New Hampshire side, I think, and not having boilerplate or what looks like, you know, somebody drafted one and everybody just sent the same thing out is much more effective. When you get a lot of letters that all seem to be the same thing, they have less of an impact than when it looks like somebody actually thought about it, talked about it, and drafted something up.
Just, can I encourage you to send it to the full panoply of elected officials? So executive counselors, state senators, state representatives, possibly county administrators, and the Upper Valley Regional Planning Commission.
Executive council. Executive council.
I think she said.
That's what I said, executive council.
Governor.
Governor? I don't know.
Yeah, the
Well,
one thing about that, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, but the one thing about that, about writing a letter to the person who's in charge of the bridge rehabilitation and then copying all of that person's bosses and, you know, four or 10 people up the food chain from her, is that I worry a little bit that the person to whom the letter is actually addressed gets the letter and sees that Governor Sununu is copied on it and thinks, okay, well, this is entering a realm where I'm not free to act, and so it ends up being just a letter that she doesn't call us and actually try to do anything on. Now, maybe there's nothing she could do. In fact,
Right.
that's
what
kind of what I suspect, is that,
Right.
that they're gonna say, look, it's just tough noogies. We gotta close that bridge, and it's gonna take 18 months, or maybe it'll take 17 or 16, but it's gonna have to be closed for a while, and that's the way the cookie crumbles. And maybe it's right that if you really wanted to get something different, a different outcome, you'd need political intervention at a higher level, but.
Well, why not two letters then? One to her, which, you know, states very engagingly how can we work together, and then another letter to elected officials saying, you know, we want you to be aware that this is happening and a lot of people are concerned about it. You know,
We'll take
they're
that.
two separate letters, and, I think our elected officials really do need to be aware. They have their own perspectives on things, and we don't know what they are.
This is Liz raising her hand for one, I can say something.
Okay, well,
Karen.
you can wait a minute, we've got someone here who's gonna speak.
I just wanted to suggest that Sue's point of what's the warranty on the bridge might be something else that could go into the letter. If we don't know that information, it certainly would help us inform our strategy, whatever that ends up being.
Yeah, I think I heard 50 years, but, that's,
Same thing.
yeah, but, good thoughts. Ms. Cole, and then you're gonna be our last voice.
Well, that's a heavy responsibility.
There you go, have at it.
Thank you, David, for reading that letter. I didn't hear, but I might have missed it, the loss of tuitions, the school problems with the kids who won't be able to go to TA anymore. I know that both the Thetford Academy, Thetford School Board, and Lyme School Board are all concerned about this. And as you know, Thetford Academy wrote last year, or as I think you know, to the DOT. So I wonder if you could address that, and I think that I'm not sure, Crossroads should be addressed, I would flag that. And the other thing is, I would ask that once you do send this letter to whomever you decide to direct it, if you would share that with the citizens of Lyme, or somehow make it public, post it on the website, so that people could see what you've sent.
I think we would do that as a matter of course,
Well,
wouldn't we?
Or it would be attached to some minutes that
Right,
people
yeah.
would be able to
Right.
see, but, we'll see. Okay, thank you. I think that's good for now. We may circle back to this. We do have other things to do, and we have a 10:30 non-public session. So, unless David and Ben are ready to finalize this draft now, take a vote on it, or,
It's fine with me unless you wanted to add that.
I would like to see some,
The school
one or
kids
two
on.
folks copied and maybe add impact to the school, but
Okay, so let me
I'm not,
make those
I'm not
changes.
interested in seeing a total rewrite. I like the way it reads.
Let me make those changes. I'll tell you what, how about this as a strategy for moving forward on this? How about if I make those, a couple of minor, relatively minor changes, and we also invite the public or anyone who's listening to this, if they have specific language that they'd like to see, to send it to Dina, who will forward it to me, and I can parse through whatever we get, if anything, and circulate a revised draft that we can plan on finalizing at the next meeting.
Okay,
Is
so
that
that
timely
sounds great.
enough?
Anything coming to Dina needs to be in by next Friday morning, because she starts wrapping up for the agenda for the following meeting, so.
So it's okay to wait 2 more weeks on the letter?
I don't know, but I assume,
Okay.
Yeah, I just as soon send it out
Just
now,
sounded-
but,
It just sounded like it was more urgent.
yeah, they'll be going into recess pretty
well,
soon.
well, our choices are finalize this letter now, make a couple of little changes and finalize it now, or allow people to have some input and,
How about
Or
a second,
encourage them to
a
send
second
their own
letter that follows, or they can, it does not hurt to have a different voice.
Right.
And in fact, I think it is beneficial. And I would be very happy with that solution.
so
And-
there's already a sentence in here that says, schools and childcare facilities on both sides of the bridge draw both students and teachers and staff from across the Connecticut River. Very easy to add a semicolon and just say,
Yeah.
there's a very real concern that such businesses will lose tuition, something along those lines. So I could add something like that if you guys wanna approve it as is and.
I think that'd be perfect, so
Yeah.
I certainly,
You okay with that? And if you'll send me a list of the representatives to who we should add to the CC, I can add that and then.
Okay.
and then we'll go, and then we would
And then send it-
encourage,
Send it to me and then you can.
yeah, and I
Okay.
would encourage other folks really, truly to, it doesn't have to be long or elaborate, but express your concerns and send it. And the address is here, and if you wanna send it to other people, send it to them. That, I really do think it's a better way than one long list that just hammers. It's sort of like the squeaky wheel, sometimes it gets the oil, sometimes it gets taken off and put in the closet because it's bothering you. We don't wanna do that. Yes, sir?
How is the state running this project? I'm very surprised there hasn't been any, that there's no representative from the state at this meeting or really, I mean, have
They-
they had any interface with you? 'Cause
Yeah,
they're
we've been in touch
supposed
with
to.
them, and
Just
they,
the engineer.
No, when, at her Zoom meeting, that there was
Yes.
a DOT rep,
Oh, okay.
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
We did a town Zoom
And
meeting,
I
it was
believe-
noticed that people attended and well, I've spoken to her 3 or 4 times over the last year and a half
and
or
the
so.
Lyme rep to the Upper Valley Lake Sunapee Regional
Mhm.
Planning Center has been
Right.
involved in all the meetings and
Okay.
so it's not hidden, but
I think it's very effective when those meetings are held, that people come and actually indicate their concerns. But I would think going forward, they usually have a communications officer or should have a communications officer to interface with the town, to let the town know what's to be expected. And I think perhaps if you were aggressive in asking them, and that, we need to know what's going on, in terms of the work progress. I mean, granted, they're closing the bridge, but I'm sure there's gonna be activities nearby that will impact people to some extent.
I wonder if they're just at the point where they already have a done deal, they have a contractor, they'll let us know when they're closing the bridge.
Yeah.
I-
You know, I mean, they probably feel as though they don't need to communicate with us anymore because on their end, it's sealed.
Yeah.
And it's been a couple of years
So that
with
they're
the
going to do
contracts that nobody responded to last time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Well-
thank you, folks.
So you guys wanna, do we need a motion?
I move that we amend that as we spoke and have Dave finish up the
And I will
letter and
second
send
that,
Okay.
except with those small edits. And you'll send it to Dina, we'll print it out, and we'll come in and sign it.
Then
And Judy, okay, it is good to get that moving along, because otherwise things can take forever.
Right.
Do we have a manifest?
Nope.
I didn't see one, okay. We've been asked to approve an appointment for the new Fast Squad captain. And the person is Andrew Miller. I believe we got some information, about the experience and qualifications of this individual, and it is recommended by the, former Fast Squad captain and the chief of the fire department. So what do we wish to do with this?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Okay, and I said Andrew Miller, right?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor say aye,
David, aye.
and Judy aye. Okay, he is approved. We will see
Perfect.
a
Yep.
thing to
Oath.
sign, an
An
oath.
I know,
It's a-
I couldn't
one of those
think of
big
that word.
words. All right, congratulations to Mr. Miller.
Or condolence.
And thank you.
Many
That's right, it's
thanks.
gonna be a big thanks.
It's a tough job.
Big job, yep.
All right, upcoming meeting dates. We have, I have some, what I think might be some changes, since we'll be working
Good.
on budget and we don't wanna meet on Thanksgiving Day. And we probably don't wanna meet on December 22nd. So October 27th, November 10th, and then perhaps the following week, November 17th. And then we skip to either December 1st or December 8th. But if we go to December 1st, then we can meet December 15th. And then we can probably punt to January 5th.
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
There's a little hitch in there. I believe on November 17th, you're gonna find that David and Jordan and myself are all gonna be at some classes for the day.
Well, we're gonna have a really good time.
Okay, okay, go for it.
Okay, so you've got,
That's the time to do my planned select board bar.
yes, yes.
I'll be videotaping, live stream, so I can tell you stuff.
So if
just so
the
you-
10th and the 24th, so then we would go to
The
December.
24th is Thanksgiving,
Right,
right? We're not coming
we're
back.
not gonna meet then, so then we would go from November 10th to December 1st, and then December 15th, and then December 29th. If that seems okay, because we're not gonna meet on the 22nd either, or you guys can meet, but I won't be here.
Where are you,
I'm a little
Let's get-
confused myself,
Huh?
I guess.
where are you on the 22nd?
I'm at home getting ready for family.
Oh, okay. Oh, because.
It's right before Christmas,
Yeah.
which we just have a big holiday then, so it takes some prep. And I swore when I no longer was working, that I would never again have to work my family around my job.
Can you throw those dates out again?
Okay, November 10th, December 1st, December 15th,
Mhm.
December 29th. And then we go into January,
Right,
either the 5th or the 12th, probably the 12th.
no, that's good, switching it up, I think. And then we'll have the 29th in case there's any
Last
last minute
minute
carryovers
Or
or
any money that we can
votes for monies.
get to
expenditures. Yep,
send on its
Perfect.
way. Okay, now, we're coming up on 2 non-public sessions. Either David or Ben, do you have anything else public-wise? Sean, we're
Yep.
gonna need you for one
Yep.
of the public sessions.
non-public.
Non-public, yes.
Patty added that because of the timing. It's just for the election.
This is for the election.
It needs your signatures.
Oh,
And
okay,
in 2 weeks at the next meeting,
it's too
after
late.
she gets the official one, it's too late, so.
So this is State of New Hampshire, it's a notification of meeting in the Lyme Community Gymnasium. The polls will be open from 7 to 7, it's County of Grafton. This is for the 8th day of November. Oh, okay. I don't think we have much choice, so let's just sign it and move it on. Although sometimes I'd like to have voting for like 2 hours. I get get very tired at the end of the day,
It is a long day.
David.
for all of you
It's
guys.
even longer for some of the poll
Oh
workers.
my goodness, yes.
Last at the primary, I believe at 10 o'clock at night, they were still wrapping up.
We're gonna have some other things to sign too.
Well, because they were different too, I think there were some changes.
Yeah.
That's what made the counting a little more difficult. Oh, you don't have a pen?
Well, you don't have to take all the time, you don't have to
I
take
don't
the,
take all the time.
the most difficult slots.
I just wanna make sure you guys are there, so if that helps making everybody else come, I'm happy to do it, but you're right, you're very kind. So that's what is that call that we just signed?
The election notice.
Okay,
I
thank
think.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
And then can I say two things if you're done, or
No.
when you're done? When you're done.
yes, go ahead.
Oh, I just want to, let the board know that at your next meeting, you're holding a public hearing,
Yes.
and it's to address 3 different things. And I wanted to bring up, one is the emergency management grant we're getting to update our emergency operations plan, which you guys already
So,
voted for.
That's the acceptance of the grant money.
It's the acceptance, right. You already voted, yeah, you voted for it, but we have to have a public hearing to accept the actual funds. Same thing with, the Lyme Foundation, this is a new grant. It's the fire department for their trailer and stuff. So there's info for you guys to look at and read, which I'll send. And that's for $24,394, which includes their trailer and the helmets and lights and some other stuff. And then the one that I love the most is, finally, we've gotten reimbursed for category Z from our 2017, oh, Sue's gone, darn it, she would have loved this. The 2017 windstorm that we had. So we're getting $5,931.18 for
Boy, how'd we
administrative costs.
survive without that?
5,000, how much?
$5,931.18.
Is that from FEMA?
Correct. From FEMA for the 2017 storm. It was all administrative stuff. So that's how much it costs to keep track of that stuff.
Okay. So, we're going to go into non-public session, we're going to, in non-public session, we'll be doing some budget discussions that have to do with personnel and salaries and benefits, which is non-public at this point, and we also have another personnel discussion under non-public session. So we thank you all
Thank you.
for keeping us on the straight and narrow.